The iPad mini is one of Apple's most loved iPads, but who needs them and what are they for? Long story short, the iPad mini is great when you need more than a phone but don't want to whip out a big laptop or an iPad Pro. If you're someone who's always working in a small space, like a pilot, someone in the film industry, or you just have a small office, this is probably the right iPad for you. It's about the size of an A5 notepad or book, and that feels kind of intentional to me. It feels like this iPad was meant to replace your current reading and writing experience. It's not trying to be a replacement for a laptop, it's just an iPad. Now, let's take a look at the design of this thing. It has the renewed square edges like the iPhone 12 and all of Apple's newer devices. It has a fingerprint scanner built into the lock button, a USB-C port, Apple Pencil 2nd generation support, a beautiful 8.3-inch display, and it's got some pretty large bezels, which is a little bit of an eyesore, but it does feel like they are the perfect size to hold the iPad properly without bumping the screen. I believe it's the perfect size, but its size and all of this design would mean nothing if the features built into it were absolute crap. So let's talk features and uses. The iPad mini has a very nice 60Hz LCD panel with P3 color support and True Tone. It's very nice indoors, but with only 500 nits of brightness, outdoor viewing is a little bit of a pain. I fly drones for a living, and when I'm standing outside with this iPad, I always have to find my way into the shade so I can properly see what's happening on the screen. But with that being said, my previous iPad would have been dead halfway through the day, and this one lasts all day with ease. And in general, the battery life is great. In normal conditions, I only need to charge this battery once a week. The size of the screen is great for watching videos and reading, but it is apparent that iPad OS was designed for larger iPads. In some cases, the UI just looks wrong. Widgets are obviously smaller on this iPad than on the larger iPads, but in some cases, like the weather app, they're even bigger on my iPhone than they are on this iPad mini. I don't want to roast it too much though, so let's move on. It's got Apple Pencil support. I've got a cheap copy of the 2nd generation Apple Pencil, and I generally use this for creating shopping lists or taking notes in meetings, but I would not recommend drawing with it because the aftermarket Apple Pencils don't support pressure sensitivity. So for drawing, I generally go to my Canvas Pro 13 instead. Another thing that makes it difficult to draw on this iPad and sometimes difficult to write is that it's quite small, and you'll find your palm falling off of the side of the iPad while writing, which can sometimes confuse the palm rejection, and that can get pretty annoying. But after you get used to it, it's just like writing in a notepad. So it also has stereo speakers, and they are quite loud. It's also got some pretty decent stereo separation because of the distance between the two speakers. And to give you an example of how it sounds, here is a comparison of the iPad at full volume and my iPhone at full volume. Moving on, the iPad mini 6 has a 12 megapixel rear-facing camera, and that's about it. It's just a camera, nothing special. It's got the A15 Bionic with a 5-core GPU, which is the processor that the M1 is based off of. So it's fast, and it feels a little bit like an M1 Lite. It's only got 4 GB of RAM, however, and that is pretty disappointing. It just makes it really difficult to do creative projects on this because those take up a lot of RAM. The model I've got here is the 64 GB base model, and I keep filling up the storage on this thing. The storage upgrade is only $150, and I would recommend you get that if you're going to be using your iPad a lot like me. Okay, so we've established that it is absolutely beautiful. It's got great specs, and as an iPad, this thing is excellent. But what are some of the more interesting use cases we can pull off with this thing? Well, one thing I often do is use this in Sidecar mode next to my MacBook Air. It's really nice to be able to use my laptop's keyboard and trackpad on the iPad, and it's great to have the ability to copy files and photos across between the two devices. One thing that's really cool is because this is USB-C, you can plug in a lot, and I mean a lot of USB accessories to this iPad. One of the more common things I do is plug in external hard drives to work with large amounts of files. But the power of this USB-C is actually really crazy. With the USB-C dongle, you can plug in an HDMI, a mouse and keyboard, and Ethernet into this and use it straight up like a computer. Kind of like the larger iPads, but just way less portable. It's nice for working on spreadsheets, Word documents, and sometimes even gaming with mouse and keyboard. Speaking of games, this makes a pretty killer portable gaming device as well if you connect something like a wireless controller to it. And if you want to take it to the next level, you can plug your iPad into your TV and use this as a full-blown games console. Kind of defeating the point of mobile gaming, but giving you a huge advantage in the games you're playing. But I won't pretend that this iPad is perfect. Its gaming performance is sometimes questionable. Taking notes with the Apple Pencil in portrait mode just feels really crammed. Your hand just keeps falling off the edge of it, and it's just annoying. Taking notes in split screen is nearly impossible. Because of the size of the screen, doing something like having a YouTube video on the left side of the screen and your notes on the right side of the screen just creates such little space to be able to write that it's not even worth trying. And unlike the larger iPads, there are no nice keyboard and trackpad accessories that go with this. All in all though, I don't know what I would do without it. It's become my perfect productivity companion. And if you're interested in buying one, it's probably gonna be that for you too. Okay, I'm done.